Previously on Squidge Rugby.
Oh, look, Leinster are good. Dummy runners and rocks and Rob Garney. I just crank starring Jason Statham. Still, they're beatable. I love seeing people be happy. I don't usually even care why. I just like to know that people are having a good time. After all, that's what life is all about. Being happy. That's why rugby teams try to win. Because they like being happy. And right now, Leinster must be about as happy as Pharrell Williams whenever his royalty check comes in. So let's try and share this happiness a bit. Over the last few games, we've seen a pretty clear roadmap as to how you might beat this Leinster team. Just nobody's been able to put it all together yet. So, how do you turn Leinster from Pharrell into Morrissey? Let's start with the team that came closest to doing that in the form of berry-clad Vespa men Racing 92. Racing are a team brought together by a love of money and quaint Parisian cafes, and held together by a French scammer whose surname looks like it's drowned in vowels. Ultimately, Racing's day was undone by their other Teddy, Mr. Thomas, the least fierce bear in rugby until Bristol's defence returned to the Premiership. But up until then, they'd showcased maybe 80% of what you need to do to beat Leinster, and remained level or ahead until 78 minutes. Racing employed a heavy press defence, shutting down Leinster's attack better than anyone else this season. Instead of focusing on the players or the ball, they focused on the space, the defensive line looking to keep pushing beyond the ball. It's a risky tactic because if you aren't focused on someone, it's far easier to miss a tackle on them, but it meant Leinster didn't have the space to play their deep dummy runner game. This perhaps wouldn't have worked without the performance of their 12, Henry Chavancy, whose name sounds a bit like a nursery rhyme. He basically just ate everything in his channel, operating independently to the main defensive line, as you'll see here. Chavancy, Henry Chavancy, understanding that his line speed is key. He lines him up and smacks him round the knee. Chavancy, Henry Chavancy. So, that's sort of the dummy runners, but they also found a way to deal with the ruck speed, but it almost backfired on them. Racing sacrificed line-out options for breakdown specialists, meaning every phase they had someone new who could come in and disrupt the ball. This meant Racing's line-out ball was about as smooth as Sebastian Chabot's arse, but they disrupted the core of Leinster's game. Bernard LaRue didn't get many plaudits for his performance because it didn't translate into a highlights montage or statistics package, but he slowed down more ball than I am right now on this clip of top TV presenter Zoe Ball. So, Racing shut down the two most important parts of Leinster's game very efficiently, and yet still lost. Why and how? There were multiple reasons, but the main problem is they had no real attack to speak of, reliant on moments of individual brilliance. And when the individual turn for that brilliance is busy doing this, you know it's going to be a long day. Leinster, on the other hand, view moments of brilliance as bonuses. Their attack is built mostly around structure. Their tries are a bit like Meccano, carefully constructed, more satisfying than fun or cool, and far fiddlier than it looks from the outside. They have a set of instructions for their attack, and because they know they work, Leinster can drop in different players to follow them without much fear of diminishing returns, which ties to another theory on why Leinster have done so well. Squidge Rugby. The real reason that Leinster are great in the Champions Cup is because the Pro 14 is so shit they can put a team of schoolboys and well-trained chipmunks and not get relegated or anything because they're only playing the Dragons. It's not like the Premiership or Top 14 where players have to work themselves to their breaking point and end up retiring young through injury, which is a very manly thing to do. It's a bit like how in Shadow of the Colossus when you... This theory is bullshit. It's true that in the Pro 14 Leinster do often field a team with fewer players called Jonathan Sexton, but there's a reason for this. They can afford to. Leinster have more depth than any other side in Europe, and their team is only supplemented by big money purchasers eager to hang around local coffee shops. The bulk of their squad was built in a big warehouse just outside Dublin, before being shipped off to local schools around the province to keep up the pretense that Leinster's side is formed of local kids, and not entirely made up of robots. Whilst many argue using cybernetics is cheating, you can't fight the fact that Leinster have the best academy system of any team outside New Zealand. Of course, it helps that their current catchment area has roughly the population of the 4 Welsh regions put together, but we'll move past that. 30 of the 37 senior players in the Leinster squad come from the local area. Only 9 of the 12 members of the Dubliners came from that area. 26 of these players came from the same 11 schools who have heavy links to Leinster. Perhaps the ideal case study of their academy is Ireland's current dough-faced wunderkind, James Ryan. Ryan has now won the 2 biggest trophies in European rugby, despite being so young he had to chew through his own umbilical cord to get up to collect his winner's medal. And you know what? James Ryan is very, very good. His work rate is phenomenal. In this clip, he hits 4 rucks and makes a carry in just 51 seconds. He carries very well, likely because he's almost a perfect cuboid and tackling him is like trying to pick up one of those really awkwardly shaped packages from IKEA. And his hands are so good, I think they might be worthy to lace Alan Wynne-Jones's bootlaces. Perhaps even handle his socks. I don't say that lightly. Second rows and hairy YouTube people worldwide spend their entire lives dreaming of being worthy of touching those socks. He gets everywhere, like sand. At times it almost feels like there's two of them on the pitch. Oh my god! I told you there was a big production line somewhere. It's a factory. We found a factory defect. This isn't a potluck golden generation either. They prepare kids to play test rugby from the age of 12. A high proportion of school games are televised, so the robot AIs can sort out the kinks in their nerve circuits and get used to the pressure right away. The academy teams play with a very similar style and structure to the senior team, meaning they can move up seamlessly, and players are then involved in the next tier up early, giving them time to settle in before they have to play. However, a good squad might get you into the knockouts, but as Glasgow will tell you, that isn't actually enough to win it. And Leinster were facing a Scarlets team who had learned many of the lessons from the last time they met. The Scarlets targeted the breakdown, knowing that was the biggest problem last time. They retained 100% of their own ball and slowed Leinster's down far better than on their last encounter. They also used blockers very smartly to limit Leinster's aggressive kick chase game, meaning this time Leinster couldn't maintain the kind of territorial control that would make Vladimir Putin wet. However, the core of what the Scarlets did well is that they looked to play their own game. They scored 4 tries and made Leinster's defence have to actually think throughout the game, unlike Racing, who just rolled into tackle after tackle like a suicidal cod, because ultimately there are 3 components to beating Leinster. Number 1, stop them playing, slow their ball and kill their attack before it can get going. Number 2, play your own game, attack them, make them think and score some tries. And number 3, know how to win. Because Leinster sit alongside Saracens as the best side in Europe at winning. They understand what a situation requires and how to scrape through. They don't only win by scoring a truck full of tries, they can win tight games with a dropkick or, I don't know, a easing the favour penalty in the 78th minute. Oh, and as bonus number 4, it'd be really helpful for your cause if you could maybe injure Jonathan Sexton too. I shouldn't be advocating this, but he's had enough concussions. Maybe a quick sort of frying pan to the head just when he heads out for the warm-up helps a lot. You didn't hear that from me. Racing could stop them scoring tries. The Scarlets could match them scoring tries, but neither side could better them. Because really, there's one other thing you need to do if you want to beat the best team in Europe. And it's simple enough. All you need to do is be better than the best team in Europe at everything. But at least you've only got to do it for 80 minutes. You've only got to do it on one day. So it's really not that hard a thing to do. Follow those easy steps and even a team like Benetton or even someone really shit like, I don't know, the Ospreys could end up beating Leinster and grinning ear to ear in no time at all. That could have gone on for some time, so I'd be very glad I stopped it when I did. However, I do want to say thank you very much for watching that. Sorry it took so long to get it up, which is a phrase Israel Folau has had to say a few times in the past. On the subject of which, anyone that has supported the channel on Patreon can now find their first piece of Israel Folau fanfiction, over 1,000 words about Israel Folau being gay. Anyone that hasn't, you can go and do that now. In particular this month, I want to thank Michael Lynch, who has overtaken David as my favourite Lynch, Victor Perez, who has overtaken Hilton as my favourite Perez, and Ian Brown, who has overtaken The Colour as my favourite Brown. Also thank you very much to Rugby Warfare, SQ20, somewhere around there. To everyone else that's watched the videos, that's continued to say they like the videos, I really appreciate it. And to the Rule of 3, for meaning I can finally stop talking and leave you alone.